Duende, an art portfolio by Ariel Estrella. Duende is a Spanish expression that has no direct translation. It's a term used in art to refer to a piece that has a soul and can evoke a powerful response from its viewer. For me, there is no better way to achieve this than by being able to see an artist's individuality in every one of their pieces. The following works are all entitled, but each is a distinct representation of my efforts to achieve Duende in my audience. I hope you enjoy and learn a little bit about me, Ariel Estrella. One of the most prevalent themes in my portfolio is my dedication to exploring the world through a literal black and white lens. I love old movies, and after seeing the rich use of negative and positive space in my favorite film, It's a Wonderful Life, I truly saw the potential of working with such a high contrast. I love playing with the fine line between realism and surreal abstraction that you can only really achieve while working in monotone colors. I especially enjoy using black and white because it also allows me to not only represent an image on paper, but truly capture my perspective through organic curves and lines. When I'm working with pencils, a medium that is more attuned to handling shades rather than monotone, I will still maintain a strong balance between the darker and lighter parts of my drawing. Doing this creates a great dynamic that is visually striking, so no matter how quotidian a subject may be, in this case, an ear, the result is not only pleasing to the eye, but highly technical as well. In class, we were assigned to use ink and bamboo pens to draw an animal, and I chose a turkey as my subject. While many of my peers tried to use the ink as they would a pen, I decided to focus on expressing the versatile nature of ink instead of the turkey itself. I achieved many effects by altering my lines, switching pens, blotting, and fanning out the ink before it dried. You can really see my hand in each stroke, which I truly appreciate. One of my favorite techniques to use in any medium is cross-hatching. There is an indescribable elegance in the way single lines can be repeated again and again to create a larger, or beautiful image. Although this be said about all drawings, something about cross-hatching seems so much more refined and precise in shading and blending to me, and this is why cross-hatching appears in many of my drawings. While this piece has many technical elements similar to those in earlier drawings, it is an example of my observational work. Overall, I prefer using photo references because they are simply easier for me to use. However, as this drawing shows, I am able to draw freehand. Birds are recurring subjects in my portfolio because I love the vibrant textures and patterns you can find in their feathers. I am particularly interested in patterns because I get to really play with abstraction and minute amounts of minimalism while drawing them. I love finding the right amount of lines to make a section transform from a bunch of scribbles to a realistic depiction of a pattern. From time to time, a nude model was hired to pose for my elective drawing class. During one of these sessions, I created both of these multimedia projects, and both were made using a similar technique. I had to glue down scraps of material as the base of my composition. Then, I used ink and other tools to draw the model over that. As I had done with the turkey painting, I focused on using the innate characteristics of the ink to bring out the beauty of my subject, this time the human form. I let the ink drop along the paper by tilting it, and it was an amazing experience for me because I was able to give up some control over my art. The final product is natural and almost sensual because it has a level of randomness that humans cannot replicate on their own. My brothers and I have collected small designer toys for years because we love the complexity you can find in such a simple design. It's these toys that came to mind when my mother gave me a plaster model kit for Christmas. Although I had not worked with plaster before, I immediately began carving. I was greatly influenced by the work of my favorite artists, as you can see in the way my designs are relatively simple but still unique and full of personality. They are not just stationary toys, but characters brimming with eccentricities. I consider these figurines an important element to my portfolio. While some may say it's not a fine art, I think that toy designing is a direct extension of today's pop art movement. Toys are commercially popular and are based on the interests of the public instead of a small group of private collectors. The fact that these supposedly lowbrow toys can be so creative and beautiful make these figurines key examples of my style. For this project, we were asked to construct a small sculpture out of white plastic spoons, paper cups and plates, and brightly colored candies. We then had to draw our sculpture to scale and color it using shades of the candy's color and this color's complement. This piece has many elements that display my technical skills in such areas as shading, cross hatching, organic lines, and uses of a high contrast between light and dark areas. The main reason this work is one of my favorites out of my collection is that it's just as quirky as I am. For years, I have been an active participant in the LGBTQ community by advocating for queer rights. One way I have done this was by joining an after-school program called Groundswell, which was commissioned by the LGBTQ Community Center to paint a mural on the theme Equality and Tolerance, using teens from the Yes Youth program as both the planners and painters. We spent 8 long weeks developing the mural, and the end result of our hard work was first impressions. It's a piece about the strength of the queer community that is held together by our individuality and by the resonance of our shared history, pain, and love. Above all else, I love drawing in my sketchbook. It's a place where I can truly experiment with my style without being judged for any mistakes I make. I am free to draw silly things and ugly things and things that really just don't make any sort of sense. I never have a plan when starting these doodles. Instead, I allow the flow of my pen to guide me. And while will sometimes be inspired by my favorite animators and graphic artists, every last drawing in my sketchbook is decidedly me. I decided to end as I had started, with a self-portrait. This piece is unique from the others due to the material I used, a single cutout made from construction paper. But at its heart, this work encapsulates every major theme I have discussed during this presentation, from the focus on high contrast, the play between realism and abstraction, and, most importantly, the presence of my individuality. I strive to possess one day, to put myself into every one of my works, and I hope that through this presentation you have gotten to know who I am, Ariel Estrella, an artist.